Live. All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah. Hi guys, how are you going? Hope you're doing well. Today we are on the second last episode of the Ramadan series, and very soon, in the next 2 days, we will be celebrating Eid, which is on the 12th of May, Wednesday, at around Maghrib time. For Singapore, it's around 7:08 p.m. And there will be the takbir all the way. I think for I don't know for how many days they will do the takbir, and the next day is usually for Eid. We will have that celebration where we congregate and do the takbir together, listen to the khutbah. Sorry, the khutbah. Listen to the khutbah, and afterwards do our visiting for Hari Raya. But without much further ado, today's topic is on a French national, Brother Bilal, who embraced Islam in 2015. He lived in Singapore in 2009. So he's been here for quite some time now, and he's married to a famous actress. Her name is Nadia M. Dean. I believe most of you in Singapore would know who she is, and I think even different parts of the world. She's acted in many places before. So we are very fortunate and blessed to have Brother Bilal to share his story. So without much further ado, Brother Bilal, do share with us your story of how you came to find out about Islam. Before that, maybe like what were your beliefs and in France and everything. Yeah, take it
Sure,
away.
sure. So, walaikum salam, and well, thanks for the opportunity. Really glad to be, talking to both of you, and hope you're having a blessed Ramadan. Not just the both of you, but everyone listening to this talk. So, yeah, interesting story. Again, I think. How should I start? I mean, that's quite a long journey. So, how it all started was, if you actually track back when I was a child in France. I used to, if you look into the demographics of France, you will realize that there is quite a large Muslim community, which is mostly, formed by three different groups, I would say, or three or four, which are basically people from what you call Maghreb, it's a region of North Africa, which includes Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and then some parts of Africa as well, more from the southern part. And so, if you look in terms of demographics, going back to what I said, the Muslim community in Europe that is the largest is actually in France. It's quite a large number of Muslims that we have. So basically what that means is that non-Muslims are definitely one day or another exposed to Islam in different ways, even without them not necessarily knowing about it, which is even more interesting. One of the things that I can tell you is that my first encounter was when I was invited to my best friend's house. My best friend is actually a French Muslim from, Moroccan background. His name is Khalid. And what I was very surprised to see is when I got invited to his house, the hospitality that I got was just absolutely fascinating. It was just all over the top in the sense that, I was treated like a king. His mom has been cooking a feast. There was so much food. I was like, "Is it all for me, auntie?" She was like, "Yeah, it's you better eat." I was like, "Well, yeah, I'll try my best." And people were so friendly and really trying to make the conversation and putting me at ease. And I really felt like this was like a second family to me. So I really kept that in my mind that wow, Muslim people are actually very, very hospitable. So that's always something that got stuck here. And then, as we move along, along the years, when I was at school, I got invited to Muslim weddings as well. And I still remember that was very funny. My first experience in a Muslim wedding was we were like 6 different guys at the table sharing, a big plate, like you do in Singapore during iftar. And there is no fork or, spoon. It's all, using your hands, which I've never done that before. And then I see this massive chicken in the middle of the plate. And I was wondering, how am I, going to take my food? And there was a piece of bread, and everyone has his own corner strategically, And I I was really having a hard time to take the food. And one of the guys who was sitting next to me was like, "Don't worry, never mind, I'll just help you." So it was basically taking the food, putting on my side, really helping me a lot. And I was again really, really touched because in a normal circumstance, in probably like a like a French dinner from maybe non-Muslim, I don't really foresee that kind of thing happening where somebody really help you to that level, that extent. So again, something that got stuck in my mind, and when you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, it makes me feel like Muslims are again very hospitable. Fast tracking, moving forward. When I left France in 2007, I moved to UK, moved to Birmingham, which is basically the second largest city in UK, and the population of South Asian, which is basically India, Bangladesh, Pakistani, is actually very large there. And I encountered again a lot of Muslims. I used to work in a hotel, and one of the things that happened was when I went to, when it was Christmas Day, there was a group of Egyptians who were basically guests of the hotel. And during Christmas, I could feel they were quite lonely, far away from their family. So I bought a box of chocolate. I just knocked their door, said, "Guys, this is for you. Merry Christmas." And well, they said, they were very shocked, firstly, because nobody bothered about them, to be honest. Secondly, they were also happy, surprised. And one of the guys told me, "Hey, Guillaume, I think I want to get your address, your details. I want to stay in touch with you because we are going back soon. This was just a project we were doing in UK, and I want to send you something." And those guys are actually, by the way, public workers. Okay, so that's the background that they have. And when they went back to Cairo, one of the guys actually who took my address, sent a parcel to my house in UK where I was staying, right? And when I opened the parcel, inside there was songkok, tasbih, jalaba, a lot of things, for basically Muslim worshippers. And I thought like, okay, this is beautiful. I don't know what to do with it. Sometimes, I wear the jalaba at home. I feel comfortable. I wear the songkok. I actually feel good about it. It's like kind of tight and nice. Look at the tasbih, so cute, right? Just put it in the corner. But I don't really put any religious significance into it. But I keep those things, right? So fast tracking again, moving to Korea. Well, nothing happened there, but moving to Singapore later on. This is where all the magic happened. I basically encountered more people. On the first few days in Singapore, when I just arrived, I did a tour of Singapore by myself. And in Chinatown, you have the Chinese temple, the Hindu temple, and the Masjid Jami Chulia, the one in green, right? So I found it, very nice. So from the outlook, so I wanted to go inside and see what's there. And the person who was a volunteer was actually extremely friendly, really the best dawah ever. Really very good adab, very good etiquette. Really took the time to greet me, explain to me everything about Islam, and took me on a tour. And I was like, wow, this guy is so peaceful. I wish I was like him. Really, the peacefulness, the peacefulness that he was actually portraying was very. I don't know. I just want to get a grasp of it, and I'm sure you have encountered that before. So again, I was happy, surprised, and then moving forward again after maybe a few years down the road, my best friend Khalid, who I talked to you about, he actually was living in Singapore as well, and he had to go back to France, and one of his belongings was actually a Quran, and he didn't want to bring it back in France, and purposely told me, "Hey, why don't you, keep it for me? One day I'll take it back from you." That was a French Quran that he got in Darul Arqam, MCAS. Yes, I kept that, put in the corner of the tasbih and all the things, right? I didn't really open it. I said one day I will open it. Maybe it looks like an interesting book, but I didn't open it. And I met my wife, and my wife was the one that really, put the last piece of the puzzle together, because she started to, when I first dated her, she said, "Hey, there are conditions to you dating me. You, of course, will know that you will have to become a Muslim, in this relationship later on, as we plan to move forward in anything, then get married. Obviously, this is how it works." And she said, like, "Why don't you open your mind to learn more about the religion? It's interesting, and I'm sure you will benefit from it." And prior to that, the good thing that she did was, and this is very, very, very important actually, and I want to emphasize on this. When I first dated her, she always portrayed very good etiquette. All the etiquette of what we should do as Muslims, being generous, being kind, do charity, help one another, being smiling. She was always so kind, and I was always, very impressed by such kindness. So this is how she put the religion inside of my mind, without necessarily talking about religion or halal and haram and all of this, right? She was putting it in a way that was very subtle. So I was actually very molded by this. So when she told me, yes, why not, you go to the Olakam to learn, then I was like, yeah, why not? Actually, I'm quite open to it. I'm someone with an open mind. I don't judge. I just want to know what it is. So I went for the BCI class and Solar class, and where really my life change was when I went to the Solar class, because I felt really finally the spirituality of listening to the Quran, feeling at peace. I had a very good relationship with my teacher, Mr. Samir. We were sitting after the Salat class together, having coffee, and I was asking questions. And there were a lot of things, that he opened my mind to, and that really transformed me, making me more patient. And I started to be more thinking about my family, being more sensitive, being more sentimental, having more feelings. Things slowly started to change in a very good way. And another encounter which I had was I met Ostaz Mizi Wahid from Safina as well. And this was a very interesting meeting, because actually there was prior to me meeting Samir. I forgot about this, it's very important. I had prepared some very tough questions for him. I wanted to challenge him. And I said to Nadia, I'm open to meeting him, but I also want to challenge and see how will he reply to my very tough questions. So I went there prepared, ready for the battle. And I lost 5-0, literally. I mean, the answers that he gave me were all making sense, and I was convinced, man. I was really convinced. They were so rational, so calm, and all the things he was saying were completely making sense, very logically. And I was like, wow, I never expected this from Islam. So putting things all together, I accepted Islam in October 2015. That was a very natural process. Nobody pushed me. That was my own will. I love it. It's the best decision I've made in my life until today. So Alhamdulillah, this kind of, recap.
Yeah, very good, very, very concise, and well, I have a lot of questions.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. First question is, I want to ask, is the demographics in France mostly Christians? I mean, is that the common understanding?
Okay, so putting things back into perspective in the Western world and Europe, right, and France particularly, but let's put it more in the maybe Western society or European context, which applies to all actually. Unfortunately, what we realize is that, and this is what I realized when I traveled, when I went from Europe to Asia, there was a huge change when it comes to people having a religious identity. So when I went to Singapore, Korea, I could feel people are Christian, they show it. People are, Buddhist, they show it. People are Muslim, they show it in a nice way, but they want to show they have, some sort of belief, which I think is very good. But in Europe, it's very taboo. Nobody wants to speak about religion. Really, it's rare. And if I were to speak about religion in my family, they would be like, what are you talking about? Only my mom and me can talk about this. But apart from that, I can't talk about it with anybody else. Seriously. So this is the kind of thing, right? We grow up with that kind of concept. I mean, there is no specific school, religious school like madrasa to really learn. Maybe a few is very limited. So you don't have the infrastructure. You don't have the number of scholars that we have. For example, in Singapore, even we don't really have that kind of very structured and way of learning, very clean and checked and all of that. It's just like, okay, maybe you are a learned man, then I will learn from you. And maybe I will learn something that is not even really Islamic, but you are the best with the best knowledge. This is what I can get. And maybe you can be the imam as well, who knows? And you become the imam, but you're not really an imam. So you need to understand this because it's very important. And that's the reason why I don't blame people. It's just the way and how it is. Government is also creating a concept of what we call laicity. Laicity is a term that is used for basically when you go to school or when you live your life in France, you are not supposed to show any religious etiquette. So, for example, if I'm a Christian and I show a cross and all, is a no-no. or there would never be emphasis on religion. They don't want to. Hence, that explains the topics of hijab and all the things you've heard. So it's the society that we live in there. So
Mhm.
even though I was a Christian, I did not really practice, nor didn't really have an understanding of the religion much. Just some very basic stuff.
So it's like an inherited thing from your parents. Your parents gave it to you.
Absolutely,
Same.
100%. Yeah,
Ah, I think in most Asian countries or so, most of it are from our parents. You know, we are baby and they just made us either Christian or Buddhist or something. And it's true because I studied in Australia a while back before for 3 years in student accommodation. So in there we have people from France, from Colombia, from different parts of the world, and the Asians are the ones who are talking about religion. And they would say, "Wow, you guys are really religious. Like you are into religion. You are talking so much about it. In Europe, we don't really talk about these things." So
yeah,
that's how you came to know, like, they are more into science. They're more interested into logical
yes,
things. Yeah, and
yes.
you're absolutely right to say that. So next thing is you had a lot of encounters with Islam. I would say around your area where your friend gave you the tasbih, the beats and all that, and slowly the Quran creep into your house. You
Yeah,
have things around, that kind of like maybe it's Allah's way of showing you like breadcrumbs to follow, and
yes.
uh, and did you read the Quran at the point in time yet when your friend passed it to you?
There was a time I was puzzled and I opened and I read and I was like, wow, this is too deep for me, really. So firstly, you need to understand I was not a reader.
Okay.
Back then I was not a reader. Now I love to read. But back then I
Mhm.
was not a reader. So can you imagine somebody who's not a reader opening the holy book? And of course, is the transliteration that they use, the Romanized language it's a bit complicated to understand because it's all terminology.
Mhm.
So sometimes I'm like, I never encountered this word before. So I was like, okay, I think maybe I give it a miss for now. Maybe
Mhm.
I'll see you later. So
Yeah.
I didn't really read, unfortunately. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, amazing. And I mean, that's probably true for some also because some translations are quite deep, right? And people,
yeah,
if they find that the reading is too heavy, they've not developed a muscle for reading a lot, they would just put it aside. Yeah. And amazingly, Allah didn't give up on you, and He showed more people with great and beautiful etiquette, which attracted you more to look at the religion. Yeah, I mean, like, you're fortunate in the sense that some people don't get to see good etiquettes. I would say,
yes,
I mean, like, different parts of the world, people practice it differently, and
yes,
Alhamdulillah, you managed to see that. And He introduced the love of your life, who eventually said, why don't you give Islam a chance? And just like me here, I think this is the part where we challenge the Imam. We were kind of like getting ready to
yes.
ask our questions. So, what were the questions that you asked him? I'm curious.
Okay. How can you prove me that God exists? Typical. It's very typical. Or things like um, about terrorism as well, which I've seen. Which in a way, I was not really a believer of what I saw on media. I always tried to question how Islam is portrayed on the main TV channel in France,
Mhm.
because I knew Muslims and they were my friends, so it didn't make sense. So I kind of like, no, cannot be. And but I still had a few questions, and I think the notion of the afterlife and like very high level spiritual questions. And I still remember Ustaz Misi actually quoted one of my favorite authors, Maurice Bucaille. Maybe you know him. He is a French convert, quite notorious. He wrote a couple of books, The Origin of Man, and the another one is the Bible, Science, and Quran, and a couple of other books. And he he basically studied the pharaoh, the mummy, and he realized that because he was a scientist, when he studied the mummy, there was actually it seems like the mummy has been in a situation of drowning. So he went to Egypt, study, and then people told him, "Hey, it's in the Quran," and also he studied and became Muslim. So I still remember Ustaz Mizi telling me, "Hey, you should check out, Maurice Bucaille and his French, and he's putting correlation between science and Islam, and you're talking about science, so why don't you you look at it, which I did, which I was even more fascinated. So that was really about afterlife, or can you prove that God exists? Like, wow, the really like tough like boom questions. But anyway, like I told you, I was amazed by his reply.
Hi. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite true that I think it's quite good that he asked you to relate to a French writer or French imam, right? Because we tend to connect better with our culture because maybe it's from birth we are from this
Yes,
culture, and it's fortunate that he introduced you to someone who's like you can relate to. I think some people do not get this opportunity and they might
yes,
not be able to connect. Yeah.
yes.
And after that, you came to Darul Arqam in Singapore, is it? After that you moved to Singapore and you attended a class, is it with Ustad Saiful Rahman also at the time?
So Ustaz Saiful Rahman, who I know well, I know is very dear to you, and he's dear to me as well. And well, he's somebody who is really fascinating. I had a BCI class with him. Of course, very easy to create rapport with him, for the person that he is. So I think that helped definitely. So there was a mix of different teachers, but really enjoyed learning with him, definitely. And yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, we were doing a one-on-one class for quite some time, just me and him, which was he was teaching me some surah. You can ask him next time you see him. He was teaching me some surah and how to pronounce and things like that, and the meaning. And was teaching him French for a while
Oh, so
because
it's a
he
good
always
experience.
wanted to learn French. So
I only
anyway.
heard him say strawberry. That's all. He says strawberry in a French accent. That's all I heard him say.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's quite funny guy.
yeah, and the solar class, like I told you, with Ustaz Samir, which was of course also a real trigger to my growth in Islam. And
Mhm.
nowadays I study with Ustaz Syed Sarkaf, who is more of a elder teacher. He's been around for
Mm.
quite some time. He was one of the pioneers in Darul Arqam. He created a lot of programs there on intercultural marriage and things like that. So he's very, very good with converts, and he's very, very good with converts who are Caucasian. And
Mhm.
he's very easy to talk to, and I like the way now he's teaching in a very practical and easy way as well. So yeah.
Okay. Next question is some people might say, oh, did you convert because you have to marry someone? I mean, you shared the story already, and 100%. I mean, it's, Allah has been guiding you throughout that whole time. And eventually, you decided to get married as well with the love of your life. So maybe you can reiterate this part, help people understand, it's really not out of marriage, because some people think people do it out. For me, most people say like, oh, you do it because you want to marry her, right? That's the girl that attracted you, that's why she's a Muslim and you became one, which is not the case. I could have easily said, we go our own ways, you can find someone else, and I just end it there, right? What about you? Is it the same?
Yeah, so I always like to talk about Hidayah, and I always like to talk about, of course, I mean, at the end of the day, Allah decided my path, and the thing is, when I think back about it, absolutely nothing to do with the question of marriage, even though that kind of accelerated the process of looking into the religion, and that was a good trigger, I would say. But overall, it's really my love for Islam, and I mean, one of the things that really touched my heart and that I was even more convinced is reading, the biography of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because that was very touching. And I found, when I read his biography, I found the man to be someone who has very unique reactions to situations that I've never encountered before. I found someone that is very dear to his people, who is really taking care of his people, who has a very clear message of improvement, and really everything was on par. And I was really amazed to see all his traits and attributes, and how he thinks and what he does and things like that. So I was even more molded by that. So again, I think from going to class to meeting my wife and the etiquette and the family, and also the fact that if I look into my past life, and I used to drink a lot, party, and how it is when you are living in a different country, right? You think it's enjoying, but it's not really enjoying. But anyway, that's misconception. So I I saw that Islam was bringing me in a direction where I feel I'm reaping a lot more benefits. Like every weekend is proactive. My mind is good. I'm motivated. I like to talk to my family. I like to be with people. I like to do good things, I believe. So I was like, this is just goodness, I mean, what am I waiting for? So I, just converted very naturally. As a matter of fact, before I became a Muslim officially, I already started really to practice, pray and fast and things like that. So I was really full speed, fully ready, I would say.
Wow, mashallah, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And I think that for someone who doesn't read much, Islam has helped you to read now a lot more.
Yeah, I'm became like
Yeah, it's not that you read a lot.
I
May I know
always
what?
argue with Nadia because I write too many books.
And what is this book? You mind sharing us this biography of Prophet Muhammad?
Yes. Actually, this book you can find it at Darul Akam and is free or for distribution. It's a
Mhm,
small book. Let me see if I have. I think I have a picture here.
mhm,
It is something that really helped me. It's good for people. I don't have it here, but anyway, it's good for people who have who are not really readers like I was, and who want to get a recap and a glimpse of the biography of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he was as a person, and all of that. So it's a small book, that size, and it's accessible in different languages. So I got it in French. Daoul has sets of different languages for that. It's usually at the counter, information counter.
okay.
So you just ask for this
Mm.
book, about Nabi, and they will provide it to you.
Oh,
I
okay,
think
okay,
I have the
sure.
book. I think it was
Yeah.
in my convert package, like when I
Yes, it should
converted
be.
on that day. Yeah, I think I received
Oh,
like quite a few
Yeah.
books. I think that was one of it because I brought it overseas when I traveled to read.
oh,
Okay.
beautiful. I think
I did
I
the same.
think over time the convert package evolved also.
Yes,
They had
yes.
more things. I think my time I didn't see it, but okay, maybe I should go to the Rockam and ask for this book also. Quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so is there a French society of Muslims in Singapore that Darokam have? I'm not aware of.
Okay, that's a very good question. There is apparently. I mean, I've met. Okay, I'm part of the MNC Euro group in the Olakam. So we do activities for you have the Chinese group and the Burmese group and the Pinoy group, Indonesian group, etc. We do MNC Euro, even though it's not really Euro, it's more Caucasian
Mhm.
kind of thingy, and we do activities, and this is where we mingle. So through the MNC Euro channel, I met some French converts, lady, and she told me about they have a group here, and usually they will meet every Thursday at Balawi Mosque, and there is one of the guys is actually a volunteer there, Brother Lokman. Until today, I've never met him. As a matter of fact, my style is. Maybe I'm a little bit different. I don't really mingle with French people much in Singapore. I'm much more with the local community, and I believe into Islam as a universal religion. So in that sense, I like to mix with everyone. I don't want to be in a category where I'm only with French Muslim. That's all. I want to be with everyone really. I'm happy that way because we're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So, but I know there is one, and yeah, it's still a small group, but yeah. And by the way, going back to the book that I told you, and since you mentioned French groups, so that's the kind of book I usually use for da'wah. I send to my mom, and I send to people that I think might be willing to read it. And actually, it's
Mhm.
very effective. They
Oh,
really like the book.
well, alhamdulillah.
Mm.
Yeah. Because I asked this also because when I was previously a Catholic, in the church, they have a French community as well.
Mm.
And there will be some priests there who are French. I was invited before to join them because I was learning French. So I was like, oh, it's
Okay.
good. I can go there and talk to more French people and, practice on my French. I mean, right now my French is not so good because I have no one to practice with. Yeah.
Okay.
Inshallah, I practice more with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that is so far what I have. Brother Ilyas, do you have any questions for Brother Bilal?
Yeah, actually, I have some questions because I
Mhm.
actually read Brother Bilal's interview with Rice Media, like I think a few years back. So I think from the article, right, I have a few questions because I think in one point at the article you mentioned that uh, you come from a family background that will actually disown you if you actually renounce your old faith, right? And I think I'm curious to find out like how do you actually go about this family issue, because I think it is an issue that a lot of reverts face as well. You know, how having to tell their family
Okay.
and afraid that what might their family think of them or do to them. So I think interested to hear your experience with your family.
Okay, that's a great question. So just to clarify a little bit, so my direct family, be it my dad, my mom, my brothers, they were very cool with me being a converter. I was more referring to some of my uncles who were a little bit tougher. So I was actually that was referring to them. What happened was, well, for me, firstly, is the intention, right? For me, it's Allah, and that's it. So I make my decision, and well, if people are not happy, well, that's how it is, right? I already made my opinion. This is for me, so I believe in it, so I will follow. But of course, I'm taking it to a pinch of salt, and especially with certain people, the approach, I have to educate them. So what happened was. When I went back to France a year after I converted, so that was 2016, I of course went to my uncle's place, and usually I would go there to drink whiskey and things like that, right? But I was Muslim, so and I believe my uncles knew this. Actually, no, they did. They did. And some of them, I mean, there were two of them. So one of them, when I went to his place, he really insisted to serve me whiskey. I was like, really, drink with me? Come on, it's disrespectful, purposely. And I was telling him like, hey, no, I have to drive the car, and all. I was trying to find lame excuse. And then I was so disappointed that I told my dad I feel uncomfortable, and I think we should just go. So find an excuse and we go. So I had to leave. That was not sustainable, and I was starting to be a bit disrespectful, and I didn't want to argue. So I prefer to leave. The other encounter was my other uncle who was, well, there was a birthday party, and he was a little bit, tipsy, and he started telling me, hey, why don't you take your prayer mat and pray here, and, started to make fun of me. So I didn't really like it. But I was like, I tried to listen to what Ustaz Syed Al-Kaf told me. He said, Bilal, I'm warning you, before you go there, those are the tips that you need to keep in mind. So he kind of listed a few points, which are actually very helpful. So one of the things that he told me, he said, you will encounter people that will be challenging you there. So this is how you will react. If they do this, you will have to, first of all, smile and be patient. Don't reply back, never. And what you should do is more of trying to be even nicer to them. So if they criticize you, just become nicer to them. So one of the things was when my uncle started to be like this, then after that, I just went to the birthday room at the corner. There was some food. I took some cake. I brought to him. Then he was like, wow, I just try. You need to be very nasty to him. He's bringing some cake to me. What does that mean? But then, every day, like every time I was meeting him, I was very nice with him. I was chatting with him. I was going to him. And then he was like, wow, this guy, I cannot do anything to him. And then we started to be close. And then to the extent that now we are talking and all, and it's very bizarre. So I try to put compassion into challenging situation, and that worked well. So yeah.
Wow.
Oh, there's some great tips for people who face any challenges. And
Yes. Inshallah.
talking about challenges, right? I think over in that interview, one of the challenges for you was also about alcohol. And were there any other challenges other than alcohol, like that you faced, and how do you overcome them in your journey to Islam?
Yeah, there were quite a number. So it's kind of all tied together, I would say. Lifestyle-wise, of course, I mean, for food, eating pork and all, I had no problem really to give it up. That's fine. There's plenty of options to eat. So food was not an issue. There was more of drinking, and there was more of socializing. So more like going out on Friday and being with people who all drink, and it's cool to drink. And if you don't drink, you're like, put in a corner, basically. People judging you. So I was mingling with a group of people for quite some time, for many years, and the only thing we're doing on Friday, Saturday was to go out and meet and greet and drink and things like that. And well, when I told them that, look, I'm quitting to drinking, they were of course not believing me, right? because I was always the first one to drink back then. And when we went to a place to meet and they started to order, beer and all, I said, no, I'm gonna take orange juice. So they were taking like this, like, they were, you're so funny today. But then the orange juice really came. They was like, what's going on with you? And then I started to drink the orange juice. They were looking at me like, oh my God, what's going on with him, man? And I was like, okay, but yeah, I told you already. I already informed you. I became a Muslim and I respect my decision, and I don't want to betray my decision, and I want to be firm, and that's the way it is, and that's it. But that was a very good eye opener because the thing is, I really managed to identify my real friends, the ones that were supporting me for any decision I make, the ones that were not supporting me and judging me very fast. So I did some sort of spring cleaning in a way, even though I don't really like the term. But I start to, go with certain people more. And actually, weirdly, I was going with people with that I used to be like, oh, look at this guy, back in the days. But then they were the ones that were helping me, and they were the ones being close to me. So you see, never take a person for granted, never judge, because you never know. One day that person might be your best friend, really. So I started to change my circle of friends from people who drink beer to people who drink teh tarik. So quite a change though. But how I did it was this, yes. I started to mingle with people who drink coffee and all, and I love to drink coffee. So it's just about socializing. I managed to do it. It took some time. There were times where I started to drink again, and Nadia was like, "Wow, giving me a very hard time." To the extent that she told me, "You better make up your mind because I'm not gonna sustain this anymore." And then I learned the lesson, and she said, "Look, drinking is this. You spend money, okay? Then you don't remember things. It takes impact on your health. It's actually more negativity than positivity. So why do you do this? Don't you prefer to wake up on Saturday morning, do something proactive and do this and do that? And what do you choose?" And then she made the point, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. That's true. So I made a promise not to drink anymore. So yeah, that was the main challenge. And then apart from that, what else? Yeah, really that circle of friends that we shouldn't be afraid to get separated from, because the problem is influence is a major trigger to Muslims, and I'm not talking about converts, but Muslims in general giving up the religion and losing their iman because they just mingle with the wrong people, they get influenced, and then they change gradually, even without noticing, and then they forget their salat, they forget this, they forget that, and then they start to becoming like another person. So I think going with the right circle of friends is extremely important.
MashaAllah, that's a beautiful tip. In fact, yeah, I think the biggest challenge that most of us would face is changing your social circle, because you're used to hang out with friends. I mean, in the teenage years, all the way to past uni, you have different friends, of course, and changing your social life, I would say, for most people would be the hardest, since they're always our generation of people are always doing socializing, right? And COVID-19 kind of like stopped socializing completely. So
Yes, right.
it's amazing how I would say like Allah is helping people to focus more on the right things now. And I think besides the socializing part, you shared about your wife Nadia, which is really impressive for her. I'm amazed at how she tell you straight up front, you should uh, pick up your mind, stop drinking. And that's very direct, but also very firm, and it's quite impressive. I mean, I like that for to hear about a person who is like that, and drinking is of course quite a social thing in France. I believe in Europe as well, especially wine, right? It's like a common thing.
Yes.
It's
And I
like
come from there.
staple.
I come straight from the wine region, so there you go.
Yeah, so it's something hard to give up. Even for me, I'm also quite amazed for my wife herself. At the time when I was in the bank, and bankers, drinking is also another thing we always do at the end of the week. It's like a not even once in a week, twice maybe. And that time when she was my colleague, she saw me drinking like a whole bottle of wine, straight up front, because it was a game and I was trying to impress people or something. And after that, guess what's the nicest thing she did? She bought me McDonald's the next day, and she didn't join us in the drinking, but she saw me doing that, and she still have the soft spot to help me look at Islam eventually. And I thought that if she had ignored me and we didn't continue as friends or something, I would might not have even explored Islam, because yeah, she was of her etiquette, and her hope that I would change was what brought me even closer to the religion. I'm just sharing that because I think
Yes.
the wine thing and you and I have this the thing common. Yeah.
Yes, and I think to add to this, Brother Firdaus, I think this is a very important point that you are bringing, because I think one of the problems that we have nowadays, when we see that maybe a lady or person who is Muslim is trying to bring somebody who is not Muslim, to the faith, maybe for marriage reason, for example. But the mistake that many of them will do is that they will actually emphasize on the things like very dry, like halal and haram, and portray a Islam that is not probably the best approach. Instead of just going with a very neutral way, like you said, like your spouse, what she did, which was just kindness and compassion, and without necessarily talking about religion or showing perspective of Islam, but in the long way we realize that this is tied to the religion. So I think there's a very smooth transition. Then maybe you can start to talk about some of the religious points, and without being harsh. And of course, knowledge has to be there as well, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Alhamdulillah, yes, I agree with you 100%. I wonder what my reaction would be if she was like some strict person who say, "Hey, you are dirty, go away from me," or something. Or something. I don't want to be friends with you or something. Yeah, yeah. So I think because of her kindness also was a big part in how I came to see Islam. Yeah,
Yeah.
brother Ilyas, any other questions you have?
Not yet. I'm
Oh
reading
yeah.
the comments. Maybe you can go through the comments.
Yes.
Some of
Okay.
them. Okay.
Comments time for Q&A.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, mostly it's Assalamualaikum. They are wishing us. And this brother met you before. Don't know if you remember him.
Oh wow, he knows my French first name. Okay, not many people call me like this anymore. Yes, assalamu alaikum, bro. I hope you are well.
Yeah. And hope that tonight is Lailatul Qadar.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Yeah. And okay, this one she answered already. How is Islam in France? Uh-huh. Oh, somebody probably know who Khalid is. Maybe. That's my
Yeah,
relative.
wow.
He's quite famous.
Impressive. Singapore is very small. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what is this? Morris?
Yes, Maurice Bucaille.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bucaille.
Oh,
You can get his book in most of the bookshops here.
Oh, a lot of people is interested in Morris B. From
Yeah,
the US.
so let me type his name. You should read up about him. He's very fascinating. You can find videos on YouTube as well. He's somebody who is very, he's extremely knowledgeable. I mean, he passed away. He's quite an old person now. I'm just trying to figure out where to type. Sorry. Oh, yeah, okay, fine. So
wow.
did you get that?
On the chat.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it
So I sent to you, Brother Firdaus, I think.
Okay.
Oh,
I
okay,
have typed
okay.
it in
Right.
I've copied and pasted it in the comments as well. So people who want to search
Okay.
the name up, I think they can feel free to
Yeah.
do so.
Oh, yeah.
His books are very, very effective for people who have who are very good. I mean, who are really prone to science and who want to see. Actually, we tend to separate science and Islam, but actually they are sisters. And Maurice is putting that emphasis that you shouldn't separate. And he's actually saying that some of the best people to interpret Quran are actually scientists, because of some of the factual, events that happen, related to science, and like the womb, and many other things, like the meeting of the seas and things like that. So he's a very good author. Yeah.
Okay, we have some from Bangladesh also who tuned in.
Okay.
He's saying salam. And what?
Walaikum salam.
Yeah. Who is Kevin from Backstreet Boys?
I always get that. It's following me every day, every time.
You say you look like Kevin from Backstreet Boys.
I stopped singing. That's my previous career. I stopped already.
This is a good question. There was some time
Oh, I
they were
love that
talking about
question.
Napoleon being a Muslim. Is it true?
This is many people say that.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a very good point you're bringing here.
Mm.
Well, some people say that he had encounters with Muslim and he was very fascinated by Islamic etiquette. And there are many sayings that say that he became a Muslim. But as a matter of fact, his story is always the same. They won't really tell you entirely what happened. It's the same for actually another person who is called. Is a very famous person from before, called Professor Cousteau. He was the one who was doing all the documentaries on the sea and what's going on, in under the sea, and very notorious in France. And this guy apparently converted because of what's written in the Quran of the meeting of the seas. And he couldn't believe it. And this is a question he had all his life, and Quran answered the question that was in the Quran. So, but then again, they are always two camps. So I can't really give a sense on that question.
Yeah, because
But
it's not really official, right? He didn't really make it widely known that he's a
we don't know, even though I tend to think that it looks like it. But anyway, yeah.
Mhm. Another one because of Macron in France, the President Macron. So yeah, I mean, there's time like people are going through a lot of.
I feel you, brother. I feel your question. Really, that's. I get very disappointed for many reasons. I get very disappointed because people judge Islam without speaking to any Muslim in their life. I get disappointed because people judge lady wearing, hijab, and they never want to understand the context behind it. I feel disappointed because it's a country of freedom where everybody has the right to, express themselves. So why then is hijab an issue? So I always feel very disappointed because there is not this dialogue between a lot of people and our dear brothers and sisters in Islam. And I hope that will change. I know some people are doing fantastic dawah there. They are trying their best. It's changing slowly. I hope we had more infrastructure there, more teachers, more things. But this is the problem. It's still very narrow. You don't really get the resources. Even if I want myself to share this type of talk that we are doing now, or Islamic class, or video, people don't understand English. So you're only left with YouTube videos in French. And how many do you have on Islam? Not much. So you see, that's also the problem that we have, also not access to the knowledge. But yeah, I think the situation is a bit ridiculous in France, and I really wish that, and I think things will change with Allah's grace.
Inshallah, yeah, inshallah, yeah. Bonjour from Paris, Paris.
Bonjour, monsieur. Comment vas-tu?
Yeah. This one, why do reverts change their names? Okay, for me, I choose actually I let my spouse choose my name because I like to have the name Firdaus. I think it means the highest level in heaven for that name. And also Ustad Saifur Rahman had a role in choosing it. so so it was like, okay, I'm happy with this name. I still keep my old name. I still respond to both names. That's for me. How about you, brother Bilal?
Okay, I have a few comments on this. Firstly, it's not compulsory. It's highly recommended. So I could just keep my name, original name that I had. Secondly, what I know about names, and that's why we never encourage nicknames, is because it's molding a person. So if you call somebody, Firdaus, for example, there's always this concept of highest heaven, which is a very good thing. It's positive. So it's embedded into the conversation and how you call the person. It's kind of molding the entire situation. But as for my name, how I choose was very interesting, very funny actually. It's weird. I was in Sumatra for vacation before being a Muslim, by the way, and which is a part of Indonesia in the jungle. And we were going, for a trip where we see like orangutan and all those things, right? And one of the guys was like, he couldn't pronounce my name, Guillaume. So he was like, "Can you choose Muslim name?" And I was like, "Muslim name? Like, what can I choose?" And then I remember the guy from my school was called Bilal. So I was like, just call me Bilal. Then he called me Bilal for 3 days in a row. That's so interesting. In the jungle, hey Bilal. I was like, oh yeah, that's me. And so when it came to the point of converting, I was like, I want to keep that name. But the amazing part was I didn't know who that Bilal was until I realized he's one of the most respected Muslim in the Islamic history because he was the one calling the azan, and he was someone who was very known for his strong faith and all of that. So going back to your question, it is highly recommended and is good for building character as well.
Yeah. I mean, even Ustad Saifurrahman mentioned this before, that we choose those names, those like even prophets' names, or even the ladies who are promised Jannah. It's because we want our children to mold into that character of that person who, has inspired you. And when we read about the biography and everything. So for me, I have also Muhammad inside my name, Muhammad Firdaus, because Muhammad is such a beautiful character. The person is loving and all, and plus Firdaus is the highest level in Jannah. Inshallah, I can see him there. So that's how I came up with this name. And
Beautiful.
most people give names like that, and they want to embrace it in that way. Okay, now Monsieur Bilal, how do you manage to compromise? Okay, not compromise, not balance Islamic values that you have with your upbringing values, like how your parents
Wow.
taught.
I love the questions. Very good, very relevant. And this is also a big problem today, the culture and Islam difference, because many people tend to mix everything. I think the thing is, it's not because you become a Muslim that you change. Your cultural identity, where you belong, is still the same. Doesn't change. As a matter of fact, if you are, Chinese Muslim, you should still celebrate your festivities, of course, in a halal manner. That's who you are as a person, and that's your heritage. You should follow that. It's the same for French people. So I still have certain values, even though I told you earlier in the talk that I'm not really seeing myself as what you would portray as being 100% French, where a stereotype is more of maybe global citizen because I've been traveling in different parts of the world. So to answer your question, yes, I will still have my upbringing values from what my mom taught me and everything, and still being French in a way, but also putting things with Islam all together, but always making sure that I have a clear differentiation between Islam and culture. This is always very important to understand
Hmm.
because you don't want to think that something you do that is cultural is Islamic, because you will start to create a lot of misconception, and once you share this knowledge with the next generation, then they will just dilute Islam, and which has been the case in the region. I mean, you will notice in many cases, Muslims here might be doing things that they don't know that's wrong, and it's good to have that knowledge moving forward.
Yeah, it's very good that you mentioned this. I also like to add that religion and culture are totally two different things. My friend used to give this analogy that our culture is like the shape of a cup, and religion is like the water. The water fills into the cup. If your cup is circular, it flow into the shape of a circle. If it's square, it will be a square shape. And so when we are able to identify what is a cultural difference and what is religious difference, we can understand what we can do and what we cannot do. Like things that are halal, basically in line with Islam, you enjoin what is good, and what is not allowed, then you just forgo that. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful point that you pointed out. Most people didn't know that. So like certain things like you must wear a songkok in Singapore thinking that you're Malay or something. Those are just not true. In Islam you don't have to naturally wear a songkok. you can go without a
Yes.
headgear, so you still can be a Muslim. Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And it's not because we become Muslim here that we become Malay and then things like that. That's totally a misconception. So, but that's okay. I think going back to that point, it's kind of related to a verse in the Quran. I mean, I'm just reading because I can't remember the number, which is 49:13, Al-Hujurat, which is basically we created you from a single pair of male and female and made you into nations and tribes that you may know each other, not that you may despise each other. Very like the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. So it's talking about basically mixing people, which is a benefit in the sense that people should keep their culture and who they are, which creates more something for the betterment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's a great reference quote, Brother Bilal. I love that quote also. Yeah. Okay, five things that you like about love about Islam.
Oh, too many, but okay, on top of my mind right now, brotherhood. That's number one.
Mhm.
Everybody is a brother. So I travel to Egypt tomorrow. I can find people that hey, I can just call my brothers and they might help me, right? The concept of charity, which is kind of tied together. The concept of being equal, which is also very good. There's no status, and also, of course, the stories of our prophets about hardship, and obviously, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and who he was as a character. I think I feel five things. There's a lot more, but we'll go with that.
Mhm. Okay. Um, did we lose you there? No, right? You're still there. Yeah. Okay. Suddenly the sound was gone, so
I'm
I thought
here.
it was. Okay. 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 There's a lot of other questions. Okay. I think we cannot go through everything, but inshallah we will answer them post post after this video. Um, okay. Anything else you want to ask brother Ilyas?
No, I think I overall like first time meeting you, and but I really enjoyed hearing from your story, and
Thank you.
I also learned a lot from your story as well. And I hope that I think a lot of people will also learn something,
Yeah.
from this stream. So appreciate and thank you very much for your time over here.
No,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
really I would like to thank you as well for the opportunity. I think
mm,
more grateful to that. Thank you very
mm.
much.
I mean, post Ramadan, we might do this either on a bi-weekly thing, every 2 weeks, one live. And I think it would be great to invite you if you are open to joining us in the SS the live panelists who discuss about things. And sometimes we invite new people in also. But I think if you're open, we would love to have you here because I think
Sure.
it's also good that we have a diversity of different cultures doing this sharing. It will help a lot of people to see different angles in life. I think, yeah.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Inshallah. Thank you, Brother Bilal. We haven't have our coffee. The last time, his wife and him invited me to their channel so to share my story. So we wanted to meet for coffee, and I think we got too busy. So inshallah, we will get a chance again. Maybe this
Yeah,
raya.
yeah. I would love to. That would be very good to meet you face to face finally, because we only spoke
Yeah,
virtually.
yeah,
So hopefully we make that happen.
yeah. Okay. Now come to this question, which is your favorite surah. We usually ask this of our panelists. What is your favorite surah? What's your favorite ayat?
There's a few ayat. I would say Al Kursi, because it
Hmm.
has a deep meaning. It helps to cure things. It has multiple functions. So I enjoy it.
Are you able to
Uh,
recite it?
yes, I do. I also have another one, which if you want recite, I can recite, which is a surah, which is called Allah, which is 87,
Okay.
which is something that I like because it's about oneness of Allah, and it's about Him knowing you and your hidden secrets. So there's nothing that actually you can hide, even though you might want to hide something.
Okay.
So it's kind of quite a powerful surah.
Okay. We have 1 minute, guys. Vote on, on which surah should Brother Bilal recite, and maybe if he can do a translation of it in the English where he got in his Quran, would be great. Anybody you like Surah Al Alaq or is Surah Ayatul Kursi? Which one do you prefer him to recite? Anybody? Okay, we wait for 1 minute. Ayatul Kursi. One person said Ayatul Kursi. Okay. Okay. Most another
Yeah,
one
I see
said
a few more Ayatul Kursi.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
we'll
I
go with
think
that then.
we go with that then.
Okay. Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. الله لا إله والحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يهوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم صدق الله
MashaAllah.
العظيم.
MashaAllah. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. So what's the translation of that? I think yeah, it's quite good to.
Yes, the translation of that. So if you try to get me word by word, I won't be able to answer that. But basically, it's stated that it means Allah, there is no God worthy of worship except Him, the ever living, all sustaining. Neither drowsiness nor sleep overtakes Him. To Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on earth. Who could possibly intercede with Him without His permission? He fully knows what is ahead of them and what is behind them, but no one can grasp any of His knowledge except that He wills to reveal. His seat encompasses the heavens and the earth, and the preservation of both does not tire Him, for He is the Most High, the greatest. So this is beautiful, like
Yes.
extremely powerful.
Yeah. I mean, the words are very concise and very precise of who Allah is in Ayatul Kursi. I mean, like that, like you
Yes.
just said, that there's no God worthy of worship but Him. So it's like asking people to only worship Allah, and He's
Yes.
all sustaining, right? Doesn't sleep or drowsiness. So like some people say, like maybe this person is a god or that person is a god, but he needs to sleep.
Yes.
He needs to eat. So he's trying to say that if the person needs to sleep and eat, then cannot be a god, because this clearly says that Allah, God, does not sleep or does not feel tired. His heavens are around, all over the earth, and nobody can intercede with him without his permission. So everything also gets, by his permission. So I think this ayat is really beautiful that you chose, and it's quite appropriate for it to be shared, since we are already near the end of this year's Ramadan, and it's
Yes.
good to contemplate on what you said in this surah, in this ayat.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then it's good for. I will recite this to my kids before they sleep. It's good for prior to sleeping. You recite the trikul and you recite Ayat al Kursi. Is highly recommended. It's actually shifa. I mean, it's helping as a cure for any issues that you might have, and it's really about showing the attributes. Actually, I wanted to say that there is a very good video on that on YouTube, which is from the Merciful Servant, which you might know is a series of video called Merciful Servant. So you just put Merciful Servant Ayat al Kursi, and it's a very powerful video where they really use like amazing visuals to show you the seven heavens and the Kursi, the throne, and the entire. Wow, it's really mind blowing.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
All
I'll go
right.
and
We
watch
hit
later.
the. Sorry, Brother Ines?
I'll go and watch it later.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I saw you just type. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
So yeah, okay, we just hit the 1 hour mark, and it's really a beneficial lesson today we've got with Brother Bila. I think it's so amazing that you shared all this, and inshallah will help open up more minds and people to see Islam as not just what the media shows or what hearsay or somebody say what Islam is. And it's a beautiful thing also that don't just look at Islam from the people who call themselves Muslim, right? As they read the Holy Scriptures itself, and to understand Islam, from a wider perspective instead of being microscopic. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful lesson also we learned today, and inshallah we have more of such sessions with Brother Bilal. So, Brother Bilal, any last words you want to give or advice to maybe somebody who is interested in Islam or exploring or just become a revert? What any advice that you want to give?
Yeah, I think for new people to the faith and also born Muslims, I think take it easy. And then when you feel that you are down, don't try really to think that you are the only one person that can have weak iman. We are all in the same boat. So it's normal thing. We are not prophets, right? And always try to have the practice of doing a little bit per day. So it can be a little bit, like, for example, even if you are interested to learn about Quran, if you don't understand Arabic, can read Arabic, it's okay. Just read the transliteration a bit, or just put it maybe in a place where you always go, so it's there. So when you pray after, you can read a little bit, maybe one page or one surah or one ayat, even. That's okay. But try to do gradually. Don't overburden yourself.
Mm.
And try to be surrounded with the right people, the right influence, because, like I told you, that will play a big part in your life. If you're trying to improve yourself, you need to go with the people who are rightly guided, and try to go, if you can, to class, because that will settle the foundation, and this is where you will feel better, and you will see that you are growing as a person.
Wow, mashallah. Thanks for that beautiful tip. So I hope you guys have benefited from today's sharing, inshallah. We'd like to also pray for all our brothers and sisters around the world, people in Palestine who are going through a difficult time right now, as you know, the media is showing that way. And also people in France or Syria, much poorer countries right now, some of people who are going through like a different kind of Ramadan, I would say. Like we are very blessed to have such a good environment in Singapore where religious tolerance is here, and we appreciate that. And love is also shared between neighbors here in Singapore. So I think we are very blessed to be in Singapore. And Nadia says she's very proud. Somebody says surely Nadia is very proud of you, brother. Okay, so uh,
Inshallah.
yeah, inshallah. Okay, maybe we'll hear from her tomorrow or something. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we thank you all for tonight, and we hope to see you in the next video, the last one. If Brother Villa would like to also come in, it's basically on the 12th. We invite everyone who are free, and just to say Eid Mubarak on live or something. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much, everybody. I say, Brother Ilyas, anything to add for the last part?
No, yeah, just thanks everybody for your time. I
Yeah.
think the viewers and also the speaker today, Brother Bila, I think for all your questions and for all the great answers. So yeah, appreciate all of you guys' time, both the viewer and the speaker.
Yeah. And thank you for being with us on this journey so far. Already 15 episodes on this. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Okay. And
Thank
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See
Walaikum
you
salam.
guys. Inshallah.
Take care.
Okay.